Hi, my name is Barkunde Michel Delma, and welcome to my presentation on social influence. Um, on this slide, you can see this week reading materials. Yeah, social influence refers to the ways that people are affected by the real and imagined pressures of others. Um, there are many forms of social influence, including conformity, compliance, and obedience. Conformity is the tendency for people to change their behavior to be consistent with group norms. And in conformity situation, people follow implicit group norms, but in compliance situations, people are influenced by direct, explicit requests, meaning that they comply with a specific request. In contrast to situation eliciting compliance, if the request is a command or the requester is or seems to be a figure of authority, the resulting social influence is obedience. Milgram's research on the forces of destructive obedience demonstrated have susceptible people to obedience to authority. Um, and his research continues to hold in the 21st centuries and is still used by many psychologists for further studies. And just as processes of social influence breed obedience, they can also support acts of defiance against authority. Sharif and Ash conducted two classic studies that illustrated different types of influence and conformity. There were informational influence, normative influence, private conformity, and public conformity. So informational influence is influence that produces conformity when a person believes others are correct in their judgments. Um, The second type of influence is normative influence. It is an influence that produces conformity when a person fears the negative social consequences of appearing defiant. And the first type of conformity that they find is private conformity. And private conformity is the change of beliefs that occurs when a person privately accepts the position taken by others. So, and then public conformity, which is a superficial change in overt behavior without a corresponding change of opinion that is produced by real or imagined group pressure. So, in addition, several factors affect majority influence. And majority influence occurs when the behavior of a larger group influences the behavior of a smaller group. And several other factors affect minority influence, which occurs when a member of the minority influences the majority to accept the minority's behavior. So then we can look here at the social impact theory. Social influence varies. Social influence situation vary in the impact on people. So the social impact theory maintains that three factors affect um, the impact of social influence situation. So these factors are strength, immediacy, and numbers. Strength refers to the power that influences over those being influenced. And immediacy refers to the proximity in time and space between the influence source and the target of influence. And number refers to the number of influence sources, the target number sources. Now let's look at fundamentals of groups. So people tend to interact with others in the groups. Um, Groups Group interactions is facilitated by the existence of roles for various members, share norms for group activity, and group cohesiveness. The presence of others can have a major impact on our behaviors. Three important effects that the presence of others can have on our behaviors are social facilitation, social loafing, and de-individuation. Social facilitation is a process whereby the presence of others enhances performance on easy tasks, but impairs performance on difficult tasks. So, meaning like the presence of people can increase our performance, like for tasks that are easy, but when it comes to a difficult task, we may be struggling by the presence. And then social loafing is a group produce reduction in individual output on task where contributions are pooled. And de-individuation is the loss of a person's sense of individuality and the reduction of normal constraints against divine behavior. So group performance could result either in process loss or process gain. So process loss is the reduction in group performance due to obstacles by group processes such as problems of coordination and motivation. And process gain is an increase in group performance so that the group outperforms the individuals who make up the group. There are three factors that can reduce group performance. The first one is group brainstorming. The second one is group polarization, and then in group think. So brainstorming is a technique that attempts to increase the production of creative ideas by encouraging group members to speak freely without criticizing their own or others' contribution. So when we read chapter 8, you can clearly see that individual brainstorming is effective, but group brainstorming could be ineffective. It clearly impacts the group performance negatively. So group polarization is the exaggeration of initial tendencies in the thinking of group members through group discussion. And groupthink is a group decision-making style characterized by an excessive tendency for group members to seek concurrence. There are also factors that can enhance group performance, including preventing group think, improving information sharing, communication and trust between members, and utilizing expertise. Defining specific tasks is very important to define specific tasks when it comes to various group members, because once those tasks are not defined, it creates confusion. And then putting emphasis on training, and then increase diversity within the group. Sometimes there are conflicts in groups. Conflicts are inevitable because people bring different motives to the group interactions, and these motives can lead to cooperation, competition, or conflict. Conflict between groups can escalate even if one or both groups have the capacity to harm the other and has little to gain from the conflict. However, negotiation could help in finding a common ground in groups. In an article exploring social identity theory and the black sheep effect among college student athletes, and non-athletes, Bahali and Osh and Bover. There were two theories that was developed for the study. So with the social identity theory, members in the group favor the side of the group members. With the black sheep effect, members rejected the group members. The study revealed an overall leniency effect for student athletes compared to non-student participants in terms of in-group favoritism. And in terms of out-group bias, study revealed higher punishment and negative reflection to the university if the main character was described as a student athlete compared to a non-participant. In the article, The Myth of Conformity, Adolescent and Abstention from Unhealthy Drinking Behaviors by Ruiz and Wallace, excuse me, the study revealed that social influence, especially minority influence, clearly indicates social situations in which an individual can resist conformity to the group norms. Results show that a non-drinking adolescent with a majority of drinking friends is significantly less likely to initiate alcohol use if he or she has a minority of non-drinking friends. And then also, it has been proven that being a non-drinking adolescent does not unilaterally put youth at risk from drinking on set when faced with a friendship network where the majority friends drink. Summary, in conclusion, social influence is characterized by conformity, compliance, and obedience. Group performance depends on individuals in group, roles, norm, and cohesiveness. So the questions for this week my questions are the following. Question number 1. Nowadays, people have the tendency to conform, comply, and obey because they fear the consequences of rejection that follows defiance. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to conform just to avoid being disliked, rejected, ridiculed, or dismissed? If so, please explain. If not, what would you do if you were put in a situation in which you had to conform against your beliefs, values, and morals? Question 2. The Bible emphasizes on the importance of groups and teamwork. Why is it important to preserve group cohesion and cooperation despite threats of conflict and differences in motives? Please include at least 2 Bible verses in your answer. Here are my references for this week readings. Thank you, and see you next time.